Hi everyone, we're sitting here at Fullwell Recording Studio. I'm sitting here with Paul Hollis, the designer of the TXWatt or TXWatt Tube Hybrid Guitar Amplifier. And you guys that know me know I am a tube amp freak. And so when these guys called me and said, hey, we have this amp I want you to check out, it's a tube hybrid, tube solid state hybrid, I'm like, yeah, whatever. So they sent me one and I tried it, and I have to say, I have an open mind now. It's pretty amazing, and I'm super happy with it. And I've been playing with it for hours and hours and hours, and it is hard to make it sound bad. I'm super, super impressed. So Paul, how did you get into designing amplifiers?
Well, actually, the concept of this amp came from Jack Kay. He is the owner of the company. He's the founder of it, and it kind of fomented over many years. But he traveled on the road playing for many years, quite a while back, and the problem he had was Marshall amps blowing up, having to rob parts from other amps to keep them going, or getting some other amp substituted on the gig for that amp because that's what they had to work with. So the idea was, well, we really need an amplifier that can sound like other amps, sound like mini amps, and is reliable. So that took years, but he brought several people in along the way to help with designing, and he also does full-up custom amps as well, lots of combos that people are happy with. But the idea of this was we want to bring something that is good quality, handmade in the USA, into a market where a lot of musicians can afford it, and yet it still is a very quality piece of equipment.
That is great. The thing, it fits on a pedal board, and I've been powering 412 cabinets, G12, greenback 55 hertzes, vintage 30s, 65s, 25 watt greenbacks, blackbacks. It sounds amazing on all of them, and yet different on all of them at the same time. I'm super impressed, and my clients here come for vacuum tubes, so for me to be even praising something that isn't 100% vacuum tubes is probably like sacrilegious or something.
No, actually, it's excellent.
all right. Well, let's have you explain a little bit about the inner workings of this thing.
So the basic concept here is this is a 212AX7 tube preamp, a 50/100 watt solid state Class D power amp. All of the sound generation, tone generation, is done up front from the tube preamp. The basic concept is this. Around each stage of these 12AX7s, there's 4 stages altogether. We can change the circuitry around that stage. So you're changing from a characteristic of blue coats American to red coats British, and you can kind of read the amp name in there as you like. But you're shaping that signal chain as you flip these switches, and that changes the profile, the way you distort or overdrive or don't overdrive as you're moving down that signal chain. You'll see labelings on here that lead you to believe that it affects mid-range or bass or certain frequencies, and that is kind of the case. That's a generalization of it, but that's what your ear will tell you is happening. So you set that basic tone that you want there. I like to start with everything kind of midway up. Once you've got kind of the characteristic of the amp that you want, then you can use the 3 bass, mid, treble controls that operates much like any other amplifier that you're familiar with. So here we have a preamp gain, and then we have a midstream kind of gain switch that lets you change the gain midstream as opposed to right up front. A blend between those two, the mid-stage gain and the upfront gain, to me, lets you find a really sweet spot for the distortion that you like. From there, we have a what we call a presence control, and it is a little bit different than you might find in a full-up tube amp, but it is very handy for a gig you're not quite cutting. You just crank that presence control up a little bit, suddenly you will cut through. Or if you're too bright, you're cutting glass, then just back it down a little bit, and that quickly lets you have a way to kind of dial in the amp for the room and your speaker without having to switch a lot of stuff. Master volume control is just right up before the power amp. All it does is change the level of your volume in the room. It does not change the tone at all. All of your tone is generated from the 12AX7s up front. And that's the basics of it. You can get loud, you can get soft, you can do You can fit a lot of rooms with this little amp, and it fits on your pedal board. So I hope you'll have a chance to hear it and try it, and hope you'll like it. Thank you.
Paul, thank you so much for coming out and bringing the amp and letting us check it out. I'm stoked to keep playing with it. I hope you don't ever take it back from me.
Totally been my pleasure. The guys here at Fullwell are a lot of fun to hang out with. So I really appreciate it.
And where can we find this stuff online?
So go to tx-watt.com for our website, or you can find us on Facebook, Instagram. With just search for TXWatt amps, and you'll find it.
Love it. Thanks so much, and thanks Jack for sending this to us. And I hope you let me keep playing with it for a while. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.